When we think of self-care, we think fluffy, like face masks and bath bombs and stuff. But as an entrepreneur, especially if you're, working from home, whatever business you're running, it is so important to think about the rituals you have throughout your day, whatever they are, even if it means that you have to wake up super early, whatever it is, as long as you can establish a routine for yourself, if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Hey, my friend, welcome to the Art of Online Business podcast. My name is Rick Mulready, and I'm an online business coach. I'm an ads expert, and most importantly, I'm a dad. And this show is where we help established online course creators and coaches create more profit, more impact with less hustle. All right, let's get into it. What's up, my friends? Welcome back to the Art of Online Business podcast. Rick Mulready here. Thank you, as always, for tuning in today. Hope all's going well, whatever you're up to right now. Today, we're going to be continuing the conversation of the mental health side of running an online business. This is something that I want to be talking more about here on the show. I've talked about it a few times over the past few months here on the show. And the reason for that is I think it's so important. I've struggled with it over the past 8 years of running my online business. I mean, I've struggled with it for much of my life, but had some really not so great times mentally and emotionally and physically as a result over the past 8 years. And this is something that we see more and more of, especially with a lot of members who join our Accelerator coaching program. This is a very common theme. And it's something that's not talked about a whole lot. I feel like it's kind of taboo to talk about it. Well, I'm here to break that taboo, if you will, and start talking more about it. And to start this conversation, before I jump into it with Amenah Arman, who is our special guest today, she's amazing. I just want to share a brief, something that one of our Accelerator members put into our group late in 2021. And I have their permission. I'm going to keep it anonymous, but this is just an example of the types of things that are super common, but yet we don't often realize what's actually happening. This person said, I spent the day wine tasting with my parents today, thanks in large part to the Accelerator program. The focus that Rick has encouraged me to put on my own mental health and happiness is really starting to land with me. Thank you for helping me feel like I'm finally finding happiness and less stress again. When this person came into Accelerator, they were making a lot of revenue in their business. So from a revenue standpoint, they had a very successful business, right? But from a happiness and a stress level perspective, not so successful and quite common, right? If we are unhappy all the time, if it's affecting our sleep, we're stressed out all the time, just things like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right? I want to go back to when it was just easy. Well, this is very common. And this is one thing that we help you identify when you come into Accelerator and we start to unpack, right? Because it's all about, like, if we're not happy in our business, then why are we doing it in the first place? I'm not saying like everything's going to be rainbows and unicorns every day. I'm not saying that at all. But when we're stressed out all the time, if we're just never happy in our business, it's something to be looked at. And this is very common, again, especially with people who are making a lot of money in their business. And so with that, if you are an established online course creator, an online coach, or you're a teacher entrepreneur, and you're looking to take things to the next level, and you want a personalized plan, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and a mastermind experience to help you take your business to the next level so that you're creating more profit, more impact with less hustle, then I want to invite you to apply for the Accelerator coaching program. It's ongoing. It's open enrollment. But it is application only. So if you'd like to do that, go to rickmulready.com/accelerator. We're going to help you optimize your systems and processes in your business, your sales and marketing, and your mindset. And for so many of you, help you get unstuck and focusing on the right things in your business. So again, today, Amenah Arman is my guest. She is an expert in the mental health effects of hustle culture and burnout. And Amenah is the creator of Sane in the Membrane. Love that name. She's a holistic therapist, and she's a nationally certified counselor specializing in helping the BIPOC community. And today we are unpacking the 3 characteristics of burnout. What does that look like? What you can be doing when you are feeling these things, or if you have already felt and you're already in there, what are the types of things that you can be doing to help you get out of burnout or to avoid burnout? What we talk about, the dangerous things that burnout can lead to. And we also have a really interesting conversation around this concept of toxic gratitude and toxic positivity. I really think you're going to like this conversation here with Amenah. So without further ado, let's go hang out with her. Amenah, you are in a very much needed profession right now.
Right now. Yeah.
Entering, what are we? Year
2.
3?
Oh my God.
2?
Wow. Yeah. 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 Depending on how you're looking at it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And you just mentioned that you have a positive outlook about 2022.
Oh man, are you quoting me on that now? Well, it's out there now.
Because I'm curious. I'm like, wait a minute. I want to hear this. So I do want to dive into that. You mentioned that you've had COVID before.
Yes, recently. Mm-hmm.
And you still can't taste or smell things. We're talking about coffee. You're like, yeah, I just drink it. I can't taste it anyway.
Oh yeah.
So welcome to the show. I'm really, really excited to have you on. And we're going to be talking about the mental health effects of hustle culture, burnout, all those types of things. This is a topic that we've been talking a lot more about here on the show because it's a real thing, and so few people actually talk about it. And so many people on the flip side of that, so many people are experiencing it or have experienced it. I don't know if I told you this before when we chatted before, but I remember very clearly, I'm pretty sure it was year 2 of the business when my wife and I, Amy, were living in our first apartment here in San Diego when we moved down from LA. Super small apartment. I remember just having a complete breakdown one late afternoon. And I remember sitting on the couch, and Amy was next to me, and I said, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh, wow.
And by this, I meant everything. Mm-hmm. Like, what am I doing? I was so unhappy. The business was quote unquote successful. We're making a lot of money, but I was working all the time.
Oh yeah.
And I've had eczema my entire life, and stress and all that stuff tends to flare it up. And I never forget. I remember sitting there. I was so uncomfortable in my skin, both literally and figuratively. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Oh my God.
And that was a huge wake up call, right? And it wouldn't be the first time, I should say, that I hit burnout in the past 8 years now.
Familiar with it. This was familiar to you. You're like, I know what this is.
Very well. At that point, I didn't know, because that was the first time, but it was probably, I've not that low,
okay,
but I've hit 2 other points in the business over the last 8 years where burned out, like, what am I doing?
Oh.
But that time it was more like, what am I doing in the business right now?
Oh, yeah.
Before it was really deep and dark.
Yeah.
And again, that's one big reason why I wanted to have you on here, is because this is such a common thing that, I have accelerators coming into the program where they're first starting out, and the first thing they're saying is like, I'm just burned out right now.
Oh yeah.
Their brain's not working. Everything's suffering. So, so again, welcome to the show. Before we go into anything further, let's have you introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely.
My name's Amenah Arman, and I'm a holistic therapist. I run a private practice in Atlanta, and the name of the private practice is Sane in the Membrane. And I take a non-traditional approach to therapy, and I predominantly work with the BIPOC community and creatives.
What does holistic therapy mean?
It means a lot of things, but the way I guess identify with it is I try to stay away from labels as much as I can. And so I take, when I say holistic, I mean body, mind, and soul. So there's like a connection between all 3. And I'm not simply looking at my client as one dimensional. Oftentimes, when we think of when we think of therapy, we think in terms of labels. I have anxiety. I am anxiety. I'm depressed. So I kind of try to stay away from that and look at the individual holistically.
So would it be more accurate from what you just said? So like now I feel like you're going to correct me here, but that's okay.
Okay.
I feel like I've been challenged with, I've suffered from anxiety and worry since like as far back as I've been able to pin it as far back as like 7th grade.
Oh yeah.
Whatever age that is. So is it more like I'm feeling anxiety or
I experience anxiety?
I experience
symptoms of depression. I experience,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it ebbs and flows. It doesn't necessarily have to be I am the thing, right? Because oftentimes we personalize it and it becomes, a part of who we are.
And does one ever move past that? Like, can one ever like, we were talking yesterday on an Accelerator call, not about this topic. We're talking about mindset though, in terms of how this person in particular was like views their business.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, the conversation was like, well, it doesn't become like March 1st and I'm a good leader. I have a great mindset, and I'm a good leader. Boom, March 1st. Like this is just an ongoing journey.
Oh my God, yes.
Is it the same way? Because someone has told me not recently, in the past couple of years, and I thought it was really interesting because I had never sort of been able to put words to it.
Yep.
And it was a coach I was working with at the time, and the coach said, "You live with a low level fight or flight every single day."
Oh yeah.
And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I wasn't laughing at the time because it was like,
yeah.
But let's talk about that because this is a very common thing where people are, especially now, right? We've been, this pandemic has been going on. It's from a mental side of it. It's been very, very hard.
Oh yeah.
And also in the entrepreneurial world, for those of us running online businesses, for example, we often think like there's uncertainty, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've heard people that had, not so great years last year in 2021 in their business.
Oh yeah.
Other people had the best years ever. But that unpredictability can lead to a lot of anxiety.
Oh yeah.
How do we deal with that?
So let's just kind of like take a step back. I'm going to give you the clinical definition of burnout, right? Because
totally
start there. So the clinical definition is it's a psychological syndrome emerging as a prolonged response to chronic or interpersonal stressors on the job, right? So in other words, it happens when the demands that are placed on you or that are self-imposed, right? Oftentimes with entrepreneurs, they're self-imposed demands that we place on ourselves.
Sure.
They exceed our capacity. So the reward of what we do doesn't necessarily make the effort that we put into it worth it. So that's where those existential moments come in, right? Like I could just imagine you sitting on the couch, right? Talking to your wife like, oh, I can't do this anymore. What am I doing? I don't even know that I want to do this, right?
Yeah.
It can, escalate into an existential crisis. So we all have, daily life stressors. And those are oftentimes, it's a normal part of life. You have your daily commute, you have family dysfunction, you have bills, the erosion of just mundane life stuff. And these stressors are normal, they ebb and they flow. The stress that we're concerned with is the ones that cause your body to go into that survival mode, kind of like when you mentioned, the coach saying to you, right? Clearly you don't have a lion chasing you, right? So the dreadful work on Monday is what's, kind of causing your cortisol levels to skyrocket. And over time, that's that state of flight or flight. Once it's sustained, that's what leads to burnout and eventually, major illnesses or just a complete shutdown.
I want to go back to that in just one second, but can you go back to what you said? We said something about reward doesn't match like the effort, the expectation that we're putting in. Can you say that again?
Yep. Yeah. So the reward of what we do, meaning the intrinsic, like it could be intrinsic or extrinsic. Oh God, what's the word? It's escaping me. Is it intrinsic, extrinsic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't match or doesn't make the effort that you put into the work worth it.
Mm.
And this could come in the form of, say Yelp reviews, right? For restaurants, right?
Yep.
So like if they're not getting a certain amount of reviews, or if they feel like they're not validated, there's something there that's kind of, that doesn't make it worth it. Like, why are we open? Why are we serving these people? What are we doing in this community? Why are we,
Gotcha. So with this, going back to what you're talking about and on burnout with burnout,
Yep.
what are some of the characteristics that people really should be looking out for?
Yeah. So there's three major characteristics. And this is how burnout manifests. The first one is emotional exhaustion. And it shows up as a feeling of like you can't complete simple tasks. Oftentimes there's procrastination, change in appetite, change in sleeping habits, losing motivation. You'll hear this, and here like tidbits of like what you would potentially hear someone saying that, doesn't know that they're burnt out. Like, I'm so tired. I'm just exhausted. I'm wearing myself thin. Myself thin, right? The second one is cynicism and depersonalization. So questioning whether what you do even matters, right? Feeling like you're watching yourself do the thing without being in it, without being in your life, like life is happening to you and you're unable to see yourself in it. And with this one, people will say things like, I just feel like I'm going through the motions. Something is off. I don't feel like myself. Mm-hmm. And we hear that. We hear it all the time. We just don't know how to, code it, basically. And that's what it is. And the third one is feelings of ineffectiveness. When you question whether the work is enough, is it sufficient? Am I actually contributing to society? What does this mean to me? And people will say things like, what's the point? I forgot why I'm doing this thing. Like, I put so much effort, right? I'm in a place where I should be happy, but I am not. What's the point? And that's when the big meaning making existential question comes about, right? Like, I worked so hard to get here. I should be grateful for this place that I'm in right now. Money's flowing, things are doing well, but I'm just not satisfied here. And I don't know why.
I'm smiling as you say that because I'm like, well, maybe I've been burnt out more than I realized over 8 years now.
Oh, yeah.
Because these are common things. And you mentioned that last thing you said, I took a note, I should be grateful.
Oh my God, yes.
We have a lot of shoulds in, running an online business.
Oh, yeah.
Talk more about that.
And this whole, toxic gratitude. And don't get me wrong. I think gratitude is a beautiful practice to have throughout your day. I really recommend it. I highly recommend it. But it's not something that will get you out of burnout. Like, you can recognize that, you did put in a lot of effort, right, to get to where you are right now, but something is off. And it's okay to kind of take a step back and examine what it is that's off. Like, gratitude isn't going to get you out of burnout. And oftentimes, right, there's like this, I don't know if you've heard of the term, what is it, toxic positivity? I feel like there is this like push to hype gratitude in a way that it can, it could potentially, just get you out of anything. Like, if you're grateful, then, then you'll get out of this. It's you not being grateful that puts you in this place of burnout, right? Oftentimes you'll hear people say that.
Yeah.
And those closest to us, right? Like, I've been running my business now, it's going to be 3 years. And year 2 is when it happened to me as well, where I'm like, what am I doing? What is this? Like, I'm impacting people's lives, but it's doing nothing for me. What am I getting out of this? And my parents actually told me, they're like, but you wanted this. You should be grateful for where you are right now. You worked hard. Be grateful. Like, you're unable to see the work that you've done. And that's not necessarily the healthiest thing to say to someone.
Yeah. Why isn't that helpful?
Be grateful, because it's not addressing the root, right? The root is something's gotta change. Something's gotta change. And this might sound controversial, but I'll go ahead and say it. It's like high five that you feel and that you could identify that you're burned out. It's actually a good thing. It's a sign
that you can identify it.
Yeah, that you can identify it, right? It's a sign that something's got to change, right? And I would be more worried as a clinician if a person was numb to the situation, right? So think of burnout as, it's your personal alarm system going off. And so it's a good thing that your personal alarm system is intact and working. Because if it wasn't, again, clinically, we would be more worried when an individual is numb to that situation. And if they continue to dismiss the subtle signs, right? Because burnout could potentially lead to depression.
And now, what just came up for me as you were saying that, and you mentioned before when you were talking about your practice and, holistic, from the holistic perspective, is that putting a quote label on something?
What?
When we say, oh, they're burned out or somebody is burned out?
I don't know that I would consider that as a label, because it's not in the, diagnostic, like it's not in the DSM-5. And it's not necessarily something that that your doctor can give you medication for, right? It's not like take this pill unless they mistake it for, oh, it sounds like you're clinically depressed. I'm going to go ahead and give you,
right,
this antidepressant. Yeah.
What also came up for me is, for me personally, burnout sounds big, right? So if somebody's feeling the emotional exhaustion, for example, or that feeling of ineffectiveness that you described, and they're identifying that they understand that they feel that they're feeling that, if that makes sense. But for them to, I'm just going to say, if I were to think that, and I'm like, oh, I'm burnt out. Like that feels big. Like something major needs to change or something is majorly wrong. I tend to catastrophize things.
Oh yeah.
So it like, can you speak to that? Because is it as big a deal, or is it just the fact that, oh, great, we're identifying how we're feeling and we're putting we're kind of understanding what it is. Is it a big deal, or is it more so like, oh, I'm understanding what I'm feeling. Now I get to do something about it.
I don't know that it's a one size fits all. I think it's I think it depends, right? Like it definitely is. I don't know that I would say it's a big deal. I don't know that I would, belittle it either. Right.
Sure.
So I feel like I take more of it's a part of life. It happens. So now that you've identified it, let's take a step back and examine the narrative. What is it that you're telling yourself about the priorities that you have? A lot of the times we're attached to the stories that we tell ourselves about what we do, right? Like you were attached to, what was the business that you felt like you were burnt out in, or what
this
was
business right here?
It's this right here, right now. Okay.
Yeah, this was back in 2015, I want to say. And at the time I was just teaching Facebook ads. Okay. So at that point I had like two online courses, and I was just working all the time. Yeah. All the time.
And then oftentimes the narrative with that is like, we'll hear people say like, this is what it takes to be a business owner, or, this is what it takes to be successful. No pain, no gain, right? Blood, sweat, and tears. Like it's become so normalized and championed, right? That burnout is kind of just like continuously knocking at your door and saying, no. You've got to take a step back and switch it up, change things up.
And to add to that, the narrative of, if I'm not working hard, or if I'm not working longer, we're equating time to money.
Oh, yeah.
Or how hard I'm working to the amount of money that I'm able to make, or that I'm going to make. Can we kind of unpack that a little bit, because this is something that like I struggled with for years. And I know a lot of, our accelerator students, this is very common.
Yep.
It's a very common
And
belief.
this connects to the first conversation we had when I asked you, what was the question that I asked you? I was like, can you really do more with less time? Like, can you actually, I'm like, do you actually believe in your mission statement that's on your site? Because that is 100% a huge claim, right?
Yeah.
And so it's right up your, it's right up your alley. I guess what made you, what made you kind of come up with that? And would you say that burnout led you to think that way?
Yes, for sure. And I certainly didn't come up with it.
Okay.
It's just, one of my mentors and coaches and good friends, James Schramko, he wrote a book, Work Less, Make More. And, I think it really, hit quote unquote mainstream with the whole 4-hour work week thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think that was really misunderstood about what the actual message was. But anyway, like I needed to make a change because, and it wasn't after year 2 either. This went on for, probably 4.5 years.
Yep.
Where, my brain was equating more, work longer, bigger team.
And what was the end goal? Like that's what, when I say narrative, like that is it, right? What is the end goal? Like what was the 5-year plan?
Seven-figure business.
Okay. 7-figure business.
That's all it was.
Yep.
With no context or intention behind it other than that's what I saw and heard as I've made it, quote unquote. I'm successful now, quote unquote, when I hit the 7-figure mark.
Yep. Yeah.
And we hit it in 4 years. I'm very grateful for that. Very fortunate to be able to have done that. But then I hit it, and this sounds weird, but like, I was like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's like a, what's next? What's next?
Yes.
What's the next thing? I got to chase it. I have to, it's not here and now. It's there, right? Something's there. It's like an illusion.
Yeah. High achievers, right? We just keep chasing more.
Mm-hmm.
And then in year 5 and 6, my revenue dipped. And what I figured out through help of therapy and coaching and all that stuff was like, my brain was subconsciously sabotaging because it was saying, it being my brain was talking to me. It was saying, you know what, in order to hit the 7 figures, your mental health need to suffer, your physical health, your relationships, all this other stuff. So in order to do that, you have to go through all these things.
Yep.
And then it was like being able to understand that, unpack that, understand that that's actually not true.
Oh yeah.
Then things started to turn around, but like, it took me a while.
Oh yeah. It's like that whole, again, it's like we champion this toxic work culture. And it pervades every part of your life. Like, it's not like it just stays in, oh my God, I'm burnt out. I'm procrastinating. I haven't reached out to the client, or I haven't met the deadline, or I haven't, it goes into, I forgot my kid's birthday. I forgot my anniversary. I can't pick up, the thing for lunch that I had to get, or, whatever it is. Like it really, kind of seeps into every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I'll have things to do, like something super simple. I don't know, whatever, like pick something up.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll think of it, and then like 2 minutes later, it's gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's completely gone.
Yeah.
So why do we celebrate this? Why do we in society, like, why do we celebrate this?
Toxic work culture? Yeah. What is that about? I don't have the answer to that one.
I was going to say that is spoken like a therapist right there.
I can tell you about the effects, right, of toxic work culture, but why we do it, I don't even, And it's, and we see, and it just feels like it's become so normalized. Like you see it on Instagram, you see it on Twitter, you see it on, like it's a constant reiteration of the same thing. Blood, sweat, and tears. I worked hard to get where I'm at. I sacrificed everything. And it's, and the underlying belief is that time is not abundant. Money is really hard to attain. You have to put in, a certain amount of energy and work, and you have to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices, unfortunately, include mental health, your spirit, your soul, your being, basically.
Yeah. So you establish that if it goes unchecked, if you will, it can lead to depression.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there are times where a general doctor would just diagnose them with depression. Yeah, they'll just, give them an antidepressant because it does sound a lot like depression. So it just, it depends. But if it does go unchecked, it could lead to a lot of things.
Such as?
Definitely. The first one is depression. And then the other one is, depersonalization, where you constantly feel like your life is happening and you're just a spectator, like you're watching from the outside. You have people complaining about autoimmune disorders, ending relationships, failed businesses, like it kind of trickles down into like the greatest fear. And the greatest fear is I'm going to lose this thing. I'm going to fail at this thing. And we end up manifesting that, as dark as that sounds.
So what do we do instead? Because I'm smiling again because common thought that I have.
Yeah. Would you agree with that? I mean, yeah.
Oh, 100%. Because I'm law of attraction type of thing. Like if we're thinking this thing for long enough, it's going to, it can manifest. And I literally had this conversation with somebody yesterday for me personally. And it was like, just kind of, starting the year, and I had a hard time getting into the swing of things, after taking a couple weeks off. And when, for me, what happened, like I can spiral really quickly. My brain can spiral really quickly. Yeah. But let's talk about that as far as, we think that, well, that's another thing too, is we work so long and quote hard because we think if we don't, all this is going to go away or all this is going to stop working.
And the thing is, it does go away. Your life no longer, you're no longer a being, right? Because you don't have time for friends. You don't have time for family. You don't have time for being in your life. You're not actually enjoying the thing you're doing anymore. Yeah. So in a sense, you're not there, really.
So what do we do? What do we do when if we're checking these three boxes here? Of emotional exhaustion, cynicism, and depersonalization, and feelings of ineffectiveness. And we're like, burnout is here. Or I've been feeling burnout for a while. Now I'm just recognizing that that's actually what's going on. What do we do with this?
So the first thing is, again, identifying it, right? And that's a beautiful place to start. And then the second step would be taking a step back and examining what's not working, right? Because it's not necessarily the entire business that's not working for you, right? It may be building that gives you that amount of stress, or it may be, it just depends on where you think the stress is coming from. Because for the most part, I mean, I can attest to that as a business owner. Like burnout for me is related to billing. I hate having to be a debt collector, and that's not what that's not what I signed up for. So if you can pinpoint the aspect of work life that's not working, right, and the aspects of home life that aren't flowing, and once you identify that, that's when you can make the changes. But to just sit back and be like, I don't know, I might need to change careers, or I might need to start another business, or I might need to. That's not necessarily. I wouldn't recommend that. That's not necessarily it.
I love that. And what my brain went to right there is like, but now people think I don't have time to slow down to stop and do that sort of audit of what's going on.
Yeah. Consider it as a life audit. And if you don't, so you might not have time, but you're going to have one of those situations where you're sitting on the couch and you're like, where are these tears coming from? What's happening right now to my body? Like, the cortisol is taking over. Like fight or flight got me in survival mode. I'm no longer thriving. I'm not creating. What's happening, right? So you are going to be forced to have that life audit if you don't take a step back and,
Yeah. Are there other things that we can do on a day-to-day basis to, like, from a holistic level? I don't want to oversimplify it, or maybe that's the answer of like the common things that people think about, like meditation or
Oh my
exercise or
God.
just getting outside.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that?
Yes. Oh, go ahead and oversimplify it. Those are perfect. I mean, you really need to pay, when we think of self-care, we think fluffy, like face masks and bath bombs and stuff. But as an entrepreneur, especially if you're, working from home, whatever business you're running, it is so important to think about the rituals you have throughout your day, whatever they are, even if it means that you have to wake up super early before you get the kids to school, before you take your morning calls or whatever it is. As long as you can establish a routine for yourself, if it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, what is that? Morning miracle rituals. He has he does such a beautiful job. Is it Rod Elrod, or what's his name?
Hal Elrod.
Hal Elrod. Yeah. He does a really good job at, like, what is it? He breaks it up 5 minutes at a time, right? 5 minutes of journaling, 5 minutes of physical activity, 5 minutes of spirituality. And we all need to tick those boxes of self-care. So yeah, I would definitely go the route of simplifying it. And whatever it is that you feel like, works for you is what you should do. So it's not necessarily like a one size fits all, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned just that right there, because I did that for a long time. And then I started hearing some other people talk about the fact that it's like, you just have to do what's right for you.
Oh yeah.
If you're not doing 8 things in the morning, it doesn't mean that you're failing, you're not starting the day on a good note, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't done this, and this, could it really be as simple as, okay, I'm going to sit and meditate for 10 minutes with, Headspace or Calm or whatever it is?
Yes, it can be that simple. 5 to 10 minutes. Definitely.
And then throughout the day, because like one thing that I have a hard time with, where like I get into something, I have a hard time stopping. And I realize, what's that?
I'm so surprised.
And then I realized, like, I have a sit-stand desk here. I'm like, oh, I have, I've been sitting for way too long right now. I've been in this right now. Like, are there some things that we should be thinking about? Is it again, simplifying it? Is it as simple as like getting up and going for a walk around the block for 5 minutes or something like that?
Did I forget to eat? How long has it been since I last ate? Do I have my water bottle next to me? Do I have my snacks? Have I checked in with a friend? Have I laughed in the past 12 hours? Okay. When was the last time I sent a text message saying, yo, what's up?
Yeah.
When was the last time I allowed someone to check in on me? When was the last time I actually checked in on myself? Right? Like, personal note, I have clients ask me how I'm doing. Like, they'll I'll start the call and they're like, how are you doing? I was like, I don't know how I'm doing. Give me a minute. Let me see, because I'm often not asked that, right? It's always about the other person on the other side. So checking in with yourself. Like, what's happening for me right now? What's coming up for me? How am I feeling on January 11th at 1:52, right? Like, whatever it is. But yeah, I definitely would take simplify it. And it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah. Because if we don't, what we've been talking about here today, the path that is celebrated is doing us so much more harm than good. And it's like you put it really well. It's not just our business that it's affecting our entire life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then going back to and being reminded of your why. Why are you doing the thing? We need to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
Consistently. Why am I doing this? How was I connected to this before and I'm not connected to it now? Where did this disconnect come from, right? Because, what we do oftentimes, you should approach it like you would a relationship, right? Like, you were connected at one point when you first started this business. Where did the disconnection come in from?
Mm. I really like that because I really like how you said pinpointing and looking at the different areas, whether it's your business, whether it's how you're doing your business, how it's you're showing up, your relationships, your health, whatever it might be,
Okay.
like physical, pinpointing it and saying, okay, what are a couple of things that I can do to make some change and test it out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And start gradual. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start gradual.
I could talk about this with you for hours. This topic is so it's near and dear to me because I've been through it several times.
Oh, yeah.
As we've established here today, probably more times than I thought. And again, it's like so many people are experiencing this and they're not aware that this is actually happening.
Oh my
and
God,
so that's the goal of here today is like, let's get this, let's help more people become aware of what's actually going on and then what they can do to help with this. I want to make sure that people can connect with you. I know you have a new site being designed and coming out. What are the best places for people to connect with you?
SaneInTheMembrane.com.
Love that name.
And then my IG is also Sane in the Membrane, but it's I have like sane.in.the.membrane. It's because of the IG. IG did that funny thing to me, but
all right, cool. Sane
in
dot
membrane
in
dot
the dot membrane. And then also saneinthemembrane.com.
Yep.
I love it. I'll link it up in the show notes for today's episode. Amenah, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about this with us. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Okay. So check this out. For years, I've been looking for one tool that can handle all of the marketing things that we do in our business and handle the sales aspect of the business. I wanted one tool that just eliminates the need to have 3 and 4 different tools. And I have found it. Started using this in the middle of 2021. And as of early 2022, the entire back end from a marketing perspective and a sales system perspective, we are completely moved into it. It's called 10xpro.io. I'm a proud affiliate for them. If you want to check it out, go to rickmulready.com/10xpro. You can do all your landing pages in there. You can do your entire website in there. You want to do a funnel? They have like 16 different pre-made funnel templates. So if I want to do like a quiz funnel, for example, I click the button for the quiz. I have the entire funnel already mapped out. I just need to go in there and put in personalized different things in there, and it's completely done. I connect it to ConvertKit. Boom. My funnel is complete. Pre-made campaigns, landing pages, complete funnels. I can create my website right in there. All kinds of things that replace different tools that I've used in the past. It's all included, like order forms and counters and all the different types of things. I've been able to consolidate into one platform, save a whole bunch of money. And it is super, super easy. If I can use it, if I could do things in there, it's really good. They have a mobile app and something that is very hard to find that is very easy to use. They have an affiliate center in there. They have a way for you to manage affiliates, to set up affiliates, track affiliates, all wrapped up into one. It's a great platform. They are always running different specials. When I joined, I think I paid $1 for 30 days to test it out. And 10 days in, I was like, sign me up. I love it. Again, rickmulready.com/10xpro. I am a proud affiliate for them. So if you do end up signing up for them, I've had lots of people reach out and they're like, look, I'm trying to simplify my business. I'm tired of using 3-4 platforms that cost a lot of money on a monthly basis. And I'm always recommending 10x Pro. So if you do happen to sign up, I do get a small commission for it. I believe in them. I use them in the business. I'm never going to recommend anything that I don't use myself or that I have a lot of respect for or know the person who actually does it. Okay. So rickmulready.com/10x Pro. All right, my friend. Thank you as always for tuning in today. Super appreciate you. Until next time, be well, and I'll talk to you soon.